Hey everyone, David C. Anderson here coming at you from the Knife Center, and it's time to show you the new knives of the week. This is a selection of some of the coolest new stuff to hit our shelves, and it's a colorful week. Let's check them out. So the first thing right out of the gate this week, KnifeCenter is proud to be the dealer to debut the new Holy Bushman from LT Wright Knives. This is a really cool new bushcraft design from them. Previous to this, there were only a couple of one-offs that they made for their Pout House, their private forum. We liked it so much, we had to get them to make a full run, and now they're finally here. As you can see, this is a fairly simple shape. It's kind of Puukko inspired, but instead of a standard Puukko that has a straight blade coming out, we still have the straight backed spine on this blade, but we do have a little bit of a drop to the edge. Because of that little drop we have to the edge right there, it gives you a little bit of an added measure of safety when you're using the knife because you don't have that edge right there. And the handle itself is nice and fat, fairly flat. It's not a perfect circle, which is really good. So you have a nice oval cross section that fits into your hand like a vise. I shouldn't say like a vise, but it really locks in there. Your hand is the vise in this analogy. Feels phenomenal. And we've got several different colors to choose from. Here's two of what we have right now. We've got an orange G10 and a snakeskin micarta, which is a pretty cool material that is exclusive to LT Wright knives. It's a cross-cut micarta, so it has a little bit of a different grain structure than your typical micartas do, but it looks really cool. And this one, just like that one, feels fantastic. We've got A2 steel on this knife, and we're about 3 5/8 of an inch blade lengthwise, which is a fantastic length, I think. Anything that's kind of getting close to 4 inches, but under 4 inches is a very easy to control sized blade. You're not fighting a whole bunch of extra length when you're getting in there and doing those bushcraft or wood carving types of things, making feather sticks, whittling at camp, doing that sort of thing. And overall, just a really cool knife. Of course, it comes with a nice JRE Industries leather sheath, and prices on these were at about $185 up to $200 depending on what handle material you get. We've got green and natural micarta as well as black micarta with orange liners, which there's some historical nod to LT Wright's days back in the Blind Horse Knives days. So really cool knives, check them out. Next up, we've got the return of a couple of really popular Spyderco knives. They've been out of stock everywhere for a while. The first is the Bow River, designed by Phil Wilson. And I think what's really popular about this knife, in addition to being a cool design, is it's only $32.50 right now, which is kind of surprising. Like, trailing point blades are never as popular as drop points, but this one's been doing absolute gangbusters. We've got 8CR13 MOV steel, about 4.5 inches of length, and black and gray G10 handles, all for that real low price. Leather sheath as well. A lot of stuff going on there, a lot of value for the money for sure. Full flat grind, the bit of a distal taper because of that upsweep, and obviously it's a fantastic, with a name like Bow River, it's a fantastic fishing knife, good for use on the water. In addition to that, a bit of food prep. You know, that high flat grind, or that full flat grind, that shape is gonna slice really well. And I've said it before, at $32.50, it's not the cheapest thing out there for, well, it is pretty cheap, but you know, if you want a really fancy, a truly memorable set of steak knives to place out on your dinner table, at $32.50, that's a really good price point, and it would be really functional design as well. You know, normally, it's very easy to spend really big bucks on a set of steak knives, on a set of nice steak knives that don't look as cool as this. But with that upsweep there and the perfect length, that's gonna cut right through a porterhouse, no problem. Really cool, and we're glad these are back in stock, but they're moving quick, so don't hesitate. So the next one is the Spidey Chef. It is also back right now. It's always been a fantastic design. I'm a big fan of it. One of these knives sits in my personal EDC rotation. Wasn't carrying it today. If I'd known that the new ones were coming in, I probably would have. But it's a fantastic knife. Similar kind of to that trailing point on the Bow River. This is another knife that works great on draw cuts for those nice slices. You got that great continuous curve to the edge. Titanium frame lock, $217.75 right now on this knife. And you've got that awesome LC200N steel, which has been finding its way into Spyderco's salt knives, especially this past year. Fantastic steel. It's definitely an upgrade over the H1 they used to use in terms of edge retention and especially toughness and edge stability particularly. In fact, NASA uses this as a replacement or as an alternative to ball bearings instead of 52-100 because they can't have, you know, something that's going to corrode when they're up in space. But it's virtually corrosion proof, and you get edge retention more like a super steel than a simple common stainless like H1. They've made a couple of different tweaks to this model, kind of inline changes to it. First, you see we've got black hardware instead of stainless or instead of gray from before. That extends all the way through the back. In addition to that, we've got a matte finished pocket clip instead of a polished clip. And the thing I really like is a light stonewashed texture to the titanium frame itself, as opposed to just the matte texture that the one I have came with. Looks really cool, and you get a little bit of that weathered look right out of the box, but it's definitely not beat up. It's kind of a subtle pattern, but it's really cool. Again, back in stock, very popular knife. If you want it, now's your chance. Next up, we've got a new variation of the Kershaw Leek. And again, this kind of continues the colorful theme. We started off with that really cool orange, then that gray and black G10. And now we've got digital blue aluminum handle scales on this Kershaw Leek, paired up with a black washed blade of 14C28. Really phenomenal EDC design the Leek is. And they've really been knocking it out of the park this year with some really cool colorways, some really cool variants. And this is another one that just looks fantastic. We're just under $64 on this. You've got that great blade shape, that great steel, liner lock, and that speed safe assisted opening action. It's, you know, and a slim carry. This really is the Leek. It's, in our opinion here at the Knife Center, one of the most enduring and greatest EDC designs of the modern era, hands down. It's just a fantastic knife. Two position pocket clip. You got your tip up or your tip down and your tip up. And again, something we think here, I'm a big fan of tip up carry, but for some reason the Leek, it's got to be tip up. There's something wrong about it when you're carrying it. I'm sorry, it has to be tipped down. There's something kind of wrong about it when you carry it tip up. Looks kind of weird. I don't know. But risk is kind of mitigated because you got that tip lock slider there. But anyway, it's a Leek. It just looks cooler than ever. And each one is a little bit different too. I've got another one here so you can kind of see each one is, you know, they're not identical handles on every one. So you've got a little bit of variation there. Kind of helps with collectability a little bit too. But man, stick it in your pocket and use it. It deserves to be used. It's a cool knife. So next up, we've got a new Bestech. Some more cool colors. And this is another great knife in the Bestech tradition of being a phenomenal D2 flipper with a great action for just $52. And this is called the Texel, T-E-X-E-L. And as I said, colorful. You can get black if you want. That's available. We've also got a translucent G10, but we've also got orange and yellow, which, look at that yellow, man. That just looks so cool. You don't often see yellow, especially on a pocket knife. It definitely pops. It stands out. A lot of us here, our eyes were instantly drawn to it. Got a cool modified sheep's foot blade. We're about 3 1/4 inch. And as I said, D2 steel. And as I said, flipping action is great because we've got a nice set of ball bearings in the pivot. Feels really, really good. Deep carry, or no, sorry, not a deep carry pocket clip. Single position folded pocket clip. It's right side tip up. And each one of the colors also has 2 different blade finishes available. You've got a one with stonewashed flats and one with not quite black stonewash, but it is a darker finish. It's not black per se. You can kind of see the difference between the two. So you have that option. I really like the slightly darker finish, and it's a great little size, great little performing knife, good materials, good action, and some really cool colors. Again, Bestech Texel, $52. So next up, we've got another modern take on a traditional knife. This is the Lion Steel Gaetano. Really, really cool knife. I love this broad clip point shape to the blade. We've got Nylock steel. It's flat ground. You know, it may look hollow depending on the angle, but it is a flat grind. Really cool shape, really wicked, nice and broad. You feel like you can get some really cool cutting, some really good cutting done. But the handles, carbon fiber, and titanium bolsters. How cool is that? We've also got, being a lion steel, you've got a few typical touches of theirs anyway. You've got a crowned spine, as well as a crowned backspacer, because this is a slip joint knife. You know, in addition to the carbon fiber, there's also some micarta options, as well as some wood options. In that typical lion steel fashion, we've got Santos mahogany and olive wood as well. They love to offer those, and they look great, so there's a good reason for them to do it. But this is, as I said, it's a modern take on a traditional, not an American traditional knife. You can tell by this really distinct handle shape that it's a Southern European, that it's of Southern European descent, this design. Old school peasant knives and just everyday working folders gave rise to this admittedly fancier version today. But what's cool about this that sets it apart from some of those modern traditionals, it is a two-hand opener, it is a slip joint, but it does have a pocket clip, which I love. You don't see that too often. So for those of you who like a slip joint but don't like it to be kind of rattling around in your pocket, nice pocket clip there, which is really cool. The other thing, at least with this one here in front of me, is it's got really strong action. Nice half stop too, which is good because this is one of the strongest slip joints I've felt this year easily, but definitely in a long time. So you've got really satisfying action. No nail nick to open it, but it's very easy to pinch. You know, you can get right here at the apex and you're actually below the shoulder of the grind. Very easy to open, no problem. And prices on these were at about $127 for the other models, up to about $150 for the carbon fiber versions. So next up, we've got a new mid-tech. This is from Graham Knives. It's the GMT mid-tech Shorty Rhino. And it's called Rhino because that distinctive blade shape. You got a really distinctive and small upswept point there. Looks a little bit like a rhino's horn. CPM 154 steel, and we're under 3 inches there too. So it's definitely a statement piece knife, but in a nice pocket-friendly blade size. Got titanium handles, as well as an inlay on the front. We've got a few different colors of G10, as well as carbon fiber. I've got the OD green G10 inlay here. And it's a chunky, well, I wouldn't say chunky, but it's a stout little knife. And it ought to be, you know, this is overbuilt, it's built extremely well, and it's about $485 right now. Really cool little blade, I think. But what really makes it interesting, let's check out that pocket clip. I've never seen something like this before. I've also never seen it, so I've never used something like this before. Now we're told that this was designed to work better in sort of a diagonal pocket, typical of work knives, or work pants, as opposed to like blue jeans or something like that. I don't know. Let us know what you think of that down there. It's definitely interesting. It appears to be fixed. I don't think we can move it to twist around like this. But anyway, it's definitely a very interesting design. I'm not sure how I personally feel about the blade shape for EDC. I think it's definitely a style statement. But I love the stonewash finish. You guys out there know that I love a stonewash because it's going to hide those scratches as you use the knife. And I think it just looks cool. And you've got a nice heavy stonewash on the titanium to match. Shorty Rhino from GMT. Pretty cool. Oh, one more thing I forgot is because you don't have a pocket clip here, this probably isn't going to matter to most of you folks at home, but it helps us when we're filming here. It lays flat on the table. The pocket clip isn't, you know, sticking up and making it move around on us. Unlike this next knife, which you can see sits rather weird. Let's talk about that one now. So this is the Bear Ops Incognito, and this is actually a automatic knife. You got a nice push button action right there. But before I close it up and fire it open, I want to take a minute to just kind of appreciate the real clean lines of this knife. Definitely a gentleman's automatic for sure. You've got a stainless steel handle with carbon fiber inlays and a 14C28 blade with a real elegant shape. It's going to work great on smaller cutting jobs, opening letters, little packages, anything that a lighter duty fancy gentleman's carry knife would have to do. Fold it up, and the other thing it's got is a deep carry pocket clip, and it is truly deep carry. It sticks way up above the end there, kind of lives in the area of the ricasso of the blade. So that's going to bury it really deep in a pocket and keep it really out of sight, out of mind. not just for you, but for anyone else around you who, you know, might get a little scared at seeing a knife. But this is going to keep it nice and discreet so you can carry your favorite tool with you without raising any eyebrows. And the clip itself, even down here at the bottom, it looks like a nice ink pen clip might look. Just make sure you're carrying a good ink pen too, so if someone asks for your pen, you can't say, oh, I don't have one. But it's a lighter spring action than I'm typically used to. I hesitate to say it's soft because it's not soft, but it's I don't know. It's just a little lighter, maybe a little bit more refined, a little bit slower too, admittedly, but it's a pretty cool design. Steve Jernigan is the designer of this knife, so you got some nice pedigree there. But yeah, let us know if you've got a better Gentleman's Automatic suggestion. You can let us know in the comments. Price on these is $170, made in the USA, bare ops, incognito. So the last knife for today, we've got a new limited edition from Ken Onion and CRKT. This is the Panache, and it's limited to just 550 pieces. And they've been making a push into some higher end knives recently. You've seen some cool stuff like the Home Front, the Shock. I think this is the best one they've done yet. Price is at about 200, or just under 300. We're about $295 on this knife, and I think it justifies its price tag very nicely. We've got a CTS XHP blade, satin finish, some really, some nice contrasting grind, or contrasting textures. We've got, well, it's all satin finish, but we've got horizontal or vertical lines on the grinds and horizontal lines on the flats. And this really cool textured section that's inset and milled out with kind of that diamond texture. And you do have that on both sides, as well as a nice thumb ramp there. Now, my initial thought was that this was going to be useful as a thumb opener, but as you can see, it's a little too buried in the handle for that. You can pinch it open and then continue with your thumb, but that's not quite what it's made to do. This is a flipper knife, of course, using IKBS bearings. Flips open really nice, 3.7 almost on the blade length, but it fires out no problem. And we've got titanium handles and carbon fiber inlays, although it may look like G10 at first glance. That's because they've got that same diamond texture milled into the sides as well, so it kind of hides a little bit of that weave that is typical of carbon fiber. Other nice touch, the edges, rather than just being chamfered, they're actually stepped and milled all the way around, and that flows, you know, from the titanium to the carbon fiber seamlessly. Looks really cool. Nice back spacer that gives us a lanyard loop, deep carry pocket clip, right side tip up only, and you've got, again, that echo of that diamond texture there. The other thing you'll see on the back is the carbon fiber inlay actually acts as the over travel arrestor for the lock bar itself, which doesn't have a steel lock bar interface, but even so, there's no lock stick, flips open nice, closes nice when you're ready to go, and it's just really cool. And they're all serialized too. This one right here happens to be number 90 of 550. So yeah, if you want one, check it out. This is my favorite of CRKT's higher end push that I've seen yet. Really cool, the Panache. Finally, one last little guy to show you, not a knife, but one of the coolest accessories that we think has come out this year. It's the Worksharp EDC Micro Sharpener. Now you may have, if you were paying attention, you may have seen we were using these as a promo item a little bit over a month ago. And at the time, that was the only way you could get it, but now you can actually buy one on its own, and it's only $13. In addition to being a sharpener, we've got we do have a diamond rod on one side and a ceramic rod on the other, with built-in angle guides because it's Worksharp. There's also 3 Torx bits on the inside that mount in the handle of that itself. So you've got everything you need in this little guy right here to take care of your knife, both the edges as well as the pivot screws, pocket clip screws, all of that sort of thing. And it's small enough to fit in like that little 5th pocket in your jeans and be very unobtrusive. And you can get it right now, as I said, 13 bucks. I've got one. I just couldn't find it this morning. Otherwise, I'd have one out of the package to show you. It's really cool. There you go. So that's just a small sampling of the new stuff that we've got in on our shelves this week. Of course, we get a lot of new stuff. If you want to see even more than this, you can sign up for our newsletters over at KnifeCenter.com, where you can see all the new items, you can see all the new customs. We have a dedicated customs newsletter that goes out. You can see all of that stuff. In the meantime, if you liked any of this stuff you see here, you can use the links in the description to head over to KnifeCenter.com. And make sure to let us know what you thought of these knives. Which one's your favorite? I mean, with all these colors here, I feel like making a Monty Python reference. You know, what is your favorite color? Let us know in the comments. I'm David C. Anderson from the Knife Center, signing off. See you next time. Yeah, I give you something to do.
Yeah, I mean, it's like...
I like all kinds of things, guys.
He likes the things that cut things.
I like things that cut things of all kinds of things.
Using that.
No. Reset for beans.
Beans!